Ho, ho, ho. Hey, Lacey.
Hello.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Paul. Can you believe it's December?
It's mind
Oh,
how fast years go. It seems like you think every year you'd like get accustomed and used to the fact that things go fast, but no.
no, totally. Yep. Well, and it's pure pandemonium up here at the North Pole. So,
Oh, I'm sure.
yeah, yeah. Santa says hi to everybody on the call. Excited to see you guys. Lots
Yes,
of people on the nice list this year. Lots of people on the nice list. Great to see.
especially in the ProShop orbit, I think.
Exactly.
I was I got a really nice message from a customer just the other couple weeks ago, actually, that said I think he was commenting on something like someone online was sharing and another customer was sharing their thing, and he was like, it just feels so amazing to be part of this ecosystem where these supposed competitors are just helping each other out and lifting each other up and kind of all working
Uh,
together and yeah,
that's
so
rad.
lots of nice lists this year for sure.
That's awesome.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. As we often do, let's start with the chat. Hopefully, it's turned on for everybody, and just tell us where you are joining from. We know Lacey's from the North Pole. I at ProShop HQ in Bellingham. Just got back in actually after midnight last night, so it was a short night from Chicago, where I visited 5 shops, did
Oh
four
my gosh.
videos, also snuck in a leadership meeting, and it was a really busy but super fun time. All right, kicking us off, Kayla in Big Timber, Montana, Lakeland, Florida, Tennessee, Michigan, Texas, California, Michigan, Ohio. Yeah, some of you maybe also put in what temperature it was this morning.
Ooh,
Oh, because it was 7 degrees yesterday in Chicago, and uh, and some people said that they had 3 on their thermometer, 15 degrees. Oh, Heidi, that is chilly. Yep, 13 in Sterling Heights, 12. Okay. All right. And will the person, how about Cody from Lakeland, Florida? You want to rub it in? What are you? So, um, Cody just smiles, very smug. Okay, very good. 48 in California. Oh, Anaheim, not bad at 52. All right. Well, we should get to it because Lacey, I know you have so much to cover.
oh my gosh.
Um,
So much.
so thanks for everyone for chiming in on the chat. That's always fun to see. And
Well, as
yeah,
you've seen already, Paul and I are co-hosting today. Could not be more excited. As I mentioned, I am tuning in direct from the North Pole. And as all of you may be getting your Spotify wraps, Santa just handed off the ProShop 2024 wrap, and I could not be more excited to celebrate the record-breaking stats that we are looking at all around. This year, I'll highlight a couple that came in our wrap. We had one AS9102 rev change. That's always exciting. But for us, we got to work early in the year and had forms updated to meet those rev changes and out in the product so that you can continue work and be compliant. We had one new production homepage overhaul, which is now featuring customizable widgets which users get to customize direct to their positions and queries and dashboards that are um, easy for them to access the information that they need specific to their role. We've got one new 3D model viewer we launched this year and additional features that came out throughout the year related to that 3D model viewer. We had 2 new integration offerings, Zero and NetInspect, and we'll talk a little bit about those as we go on. 3 versions released. We had 2 out, and our 5.2.3 is rolling out general availability next month. So stay tuned there. 108 product features and improvements launched. I am fortunate to work in the product team, and we were dedicated this year, as we always are, to solving the problems that you face. And it was an exciting year to get as many features and improvements out and into your hands. For prospects, that is a lot of features that are now new and available to you. So if you're a prospect client, if you haven't signed up with us, sign up for a demo ASAP because we'd love to show you what we've been working on. In addition, I cannot believe that our sales team got out to 8 conferences and trade shows this year. I whirlwind of different locations, including IMTS. I hope that many of you connected with us there. And Paul, I don't know, but I think this might be an all-time personal record of 47 podcasts recorded. Like, are you kidding?
It is an
Holy
all-time,
smokes.
and that's just the ProShop and Machine Shop Mastery ones. I made an announcement a few weeks ago, but I've also sort of formally joined as a co-owner of Making Chips podcast. So I've
Oh
been
my gosh.
Making Chips podcast too. So it's probably well over 50 just for me, but I love it. I love sharing the stories of some of the people on the call today have been on the podcast sharing their incredible stories, like Bob and Heidi Dravoy at Prosper Tech and John Newman and others. So it feels so good to be able to share their incredible inspiration with the industry. So if you haven't checked them out yet, go check out Machine Shop Mastery and Manufacturing Transformed podcasts. And Sarah could probably drop the links in the chat. So anyway, yes, it has been a busy year.
Yeah, I'd say so. Oh my gosh. Well, and you can tell your passion shines through in all of those. Every time I listen to one of them, I'm like, oh my gosh, just the excitement and the passion definitely shows through. So, all right, on we go. Well, in true Christmas tradition, we are going to visit the ghost of Christmas past first as we dive into ProShop's journey in our user interface. I'm going to move us to our next slide. And Paul, tell me a little bit about what we're looking at here. When I asked that, when I was told you I wanted to take a look at the
I thought that
evolution of the UI,
I thought this was the new 523 home screen, no?
we did go for a retro look. We did. We did.
No,
No, but what am I looking at? What is
no.
this?
This is, we were just trying to figure out exactly what year this is. I was going to originally say probably like 2001, but the fact that it has the QMS metrics on here, I'm guessing it's more like 2005 or six.
Okay.
No timestamp on it, obviously, but you can see on the right-hand side, we had integrated search right into Modern Machine Shop Magazine, our own website, some magazine called CNC Magazine, which I don't even know what that is, or the World Wide Web. Search www. Yes, and
Oh
FedEx
my
tracking
goodness.
was right in there. Some other little links that we wanted. In fact, it's so funny down in the lower right, the Pro Engineer News Group.
Oh
So
my gosh.
you may not know that Pro CNC, the shop name, which is right on the top there, that was the name of our shop. So Pro Shop is called Pro Shop because of the pro in the name, but Pro CNC was named because our original niche was working for companies that used Pro Engineer to design all their.
Okay.
We wanted to be able to have them maintain their Pro Engineer file system, and so we used Pro Engineer, Pro Manufacturing. So a little shout out to PTC that designed Pro Engineer, so many years
That's
ago,
amazing.
because that's yeah, Cody, good old Pro E, yep, and Pro Man is what we used for
Oh
programming in
my
the early
gosh.
days. So anyway, I
That's
digress.
crazy.
Yeah,
No, totally.
definitely the look of the age back then.
I feel like I'm going to win it Pro Shop Trivia now with that little nugget. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, we have only evolved since then. We took a look back at some of the interfaces. This is a great snapshot from 2017 of what the user interface looked like for work orders and sneak peek, and we'll take a little bit of a deeper dive. But as we launch our new UI for estimates, parts, work order pages, you're going to see a much updated look as we roll that new release out. I took a look too to see just the evolution over the last year in itself. So those record pages are having an update, but as early as January 2023, our nav bar wasn't even updated. So we've made such a huge initiative over the last year to really modernize our UI, have it reflect the same level that our features have. So for those who aren't as familiar with ProShop, we have spent the last 10 years really growing the business. Through that, our main focus over the first few years was really diving in and making sure that we had really robust features and solutions to everyday problems that are faced in the manufacturing industries. And I think one of the areas that we just really were like, listen, we are going to solve problems, and the UI, that'll come second. And finally, we took really the big initiative to say we need that to also reflect the sophistication that a lot of our features have. So it's been a fun journey in the product team to also bring that to life, and really excited to dive in. So without further ado, slides only tell so much. So I'm going to get into the product itself. I'm excited to be able to demo for many of you today. And the first place that we're going to dive into is the UI. So in our latest release coming out in January, we have updated, as I mentioned, our estimate part and work order pages. We're taking a look at a work order record here. There's some new components on the page, but the main focus that we had with our UI and our updates here was to really focus the user on the key pieces of information and streamline the amount of noise that was coming at a user when they first navigate to a record page. Really diving them into the key areas that they need to look at. So things like work orders would be the status of that work order, the must leave by date, the rev, the quantity ordered, the status of that overall job. Also visual identification of the part that we're building. So you'll see we've really moved our image up to the top right-hand corner and incorporated an image carousel. We can scroll through that image over on the right-hand side. With streamlining a lot of our attributes and the data that you're seeing at first glance, we have moved a bunch of our attributes over to a left-hand panel that's expandable and collapsible. You'll see that we incorporate still our same purchasing icons over on the left-hand side, and we still see the status of our purchasing at every stage, even when that left panel's collapsed.
Yeah,
We
when
see
I
a
first
lot of,
saw
oh yeah,
mock-ups you and Ariana were doing, I was so excited about these.
yeah,
It's really
it's
fun.
been so fun. It's been so neat to really, again, take a look at the UI and make sure that it's not overwhelming for users. I think oftentimes we're taking a look at users that are both experienced and new. And a lot of the feedback that we've received over the years is our user interface was really busy and hard to really focus in on the key things that are important to a user as they come into any given record at the stage of the workflow that they're in. So that is the main focus for us here. You'll see a lot of these same components on our part and estimate pages as well. So as I navigate to a part, you're going to see that left-hand panel, again, collapsible, expandable, that same carousel viewer, our same header cards with key pieces of information. We'll see that on the estimate as well. So as I navigate over there, exact same components all the way through at each stage. Paul, keep an eye on the chat if there's any questions coming through, but I'm going to move quickly because
Oh,
this hour is going to go fast. So I'm going to move through our UI. While I'm in the record pages, I did want to mention at the bottom, we're going to take a look at the 3D model viewer. I mentioned that in our wrap, our 2024 wrap, that we launched a 3D model viewer earlier in this year. I'm going to navigate down to the base of our part page, and we'll take a look at some of the features with the 3D model viewer. I've got the settings open here. I can collapse that as needed, but we've got unit of measurement. So let me put out our bounding box. You can toggle between different units here, metric or imperial, as needed for your organization. I can enable grids, just basic settings in our 3D model viewer. I've got rev control, so let's take a look at that. So we do rev control the 3D model to the same rev of the part that you're on. So right now, both of these revs match at a rev A. If I scroll up to the top here and go ahead and edit my revision of this particular part, I want to make sure that we're notifying users that the model viewer they have may be out of date to the latest part rev. So as I update that rev, we'll see down here that there's now no model associated with that rev. We uploaded the model when it was a rev A, and now I need to ensure that my model is compliant. Now we have a series of steps you can follow, but ideally I would be uploading the model accordingly to make sure that it matches that same rev level. Now, again, I can change that back. So we'll use this. I think I come back to this part a couple times in our demo. So let's go ahead and change that back.
and I would
And
presume
if,
that that can be that can be pushed from the customer PO as well. If you update it there, it'll update the
yeah.
model rep too. Yeah, cool.
And then I'll show our little snapshot feature as well. So when I click that, it'll take a snapshot of the 3D model as it was displayed here. It'll save it as a file attachment. And then this also displays in our image carousel. So that third image is there. So early on, if all I had was a 3D model for maybe a customer and I still want to have an image here, I can zoom in on that 3D model viewer. I can take that snapshot and that can be my first image on my record page.
Yeah, and
All
for those
right.
not customers, there's lots of places where you can have a thumbnail of the part when you like mouse over, a part number, or in queries and other places on the box label we have. So yeah, having that first image in there just helps propagate that everywhere you have that. There are a couple of questions here
Okay.
about what types of file types are supported in 3D Model Viewer.
Yeah, I should have had that list off the top of my head. I know step files, I'd have to take a look at the rest of them. But we
Very
can
likely,
definitely get that list. Yep.
I think IGES is on the list as well. Step.
Yep.
We can probably research that, maybe get it in here by the end of the call.
Totally.
Do some digging.
Other questions?
Uh, those were two from the same,
Okay.
two
Gotcha.
questions from different people.
Great. All right, I'll keep moving because it is a packed webinar. Next, I'm going to toggle us into one of our newest features coming out in 5.2.3, which is the ability to edit work orders in bulk via our cart system. So if you're not familiar with our cart system, it's very similar to other carts that you might be familiar with, like Amazon carts, or you're loading a cart with a series of records. So this is our cart interface. If you aren't familiar with it, it can be found under the user menu under My Carts. We're going to be looking at the work order cart today, but I can set a series of records to fill that cart, and then I can transact against them. In 5.2.3, we've opened up the ability to edit multiple work order records at one time. So I'm going to demonstrate this by running a query of work orders. So let's navigate over to the work order module. I've got a query here of a set of work orders that are specific to one customer PO. So my scenario, let's say, is that on this customer PO, I have assigned a new project manager to manage this order and the corresponding work orders that are associated to that customer PO. So I want to update my project manager, and I want to do that across all of the work orders for this, this order. So I'm going to go ahead and select these. Again, query of just one customer PO, the multiple lines there, and the work orders associated to it. That's going to drive into or flow into the work order cart that I had set. So we saw that this previous page that I had established a cart in the work orders. And then from here, I have some options of how I can bulk transact across these work orders. So in the bulk actions, I'm going to click on bulk edit. We have two options. I can either transact on top level attributes. So these are going to be things like project manager, due dates, order quantities, revs, etc. Again, my scenario is that I want to edit on the project manager. So I'm going to go ahead and check out these records. And I have some options. I'm going to scroll over to my project manager field here. We have some just basic find and replace or override current values. I'm going to use the find and replace today. So I'm going to replace, let's say, Brian as my project manager, and I'm going to replace him with, let's say, Kenny. We're going to see really quickly that that updated. If you missed it, I can do that again. So I've got, let's say, Kenny here, and I'm going to replace with Brian. So we'll see that toggle back as I make those changes. And go ahead and save changes. I can also make edits to any of the additional work orders while I have this in checkout mode. Going to save changes and make sure, yes, I do want to save changes. The other thing I can do is I can make changes across multiple operations on a given, across multiple work orders. So perhaps it is that I want to update the first article inspection. So in this case, I'm going to, I can either uncheck or check all attribute fields in the given column that I selected. So in this case, first article inspection complete. Now, I might not want to bulk do this. Again, first articles, definitely want to go through the steps of actually completing your first articles. But if you so chose, you could complete those all at one time and have each one of those checked off in one fall swoop. The other thing is on the ops tables, I can still make the same find and replace that I did at the top level attributes. So if, let's say, I had set a given user for all manufacturing planning as the key resource. So in this case, maybe I set a user when I was first starting. Now I've actually set up a work cell or a work center for planning itself. I can make those changes across multiple orders and multiple operations all in one fell swoop. So that gets updated very easily.
So
Now,
another use case for this,
yeah,
especially for companies that do bulk type of work, like we have a few customers that do plating processes or, sheet metal, with a laser machine or a punch press. If you process a bunch of work orders at the same time, you could, for example, check off the box that you've completed the laser cutting operation, or you moved so many parts through through an operation, queuing it to the next op. So lots of examples, drag knife for composites, again, laser, water jet machines, plating where you're dunking a bunch of work orders all at the same time. So yeah, a lot of good use cases for this.
definitely. Yeah, thanks for calling that out, Paul. And then I wanted to set up a scenario where we'd also see that we recognize, especially on work orders, that certain changes that you'll make to a work order may trigger follow-on events. So in this case, 5 out of the records that I had in the queue actually need to have a first article complete before I check off that first article is complete on the face of the work order. It's going to let me go ahead and submit those check marks, but I'm also going to get a system message that tells me what of those work orders still have follow-on activities that need to occur to them. So this is our double check that we aren't bypassing some of the key workflows that are still required on these work orders while we're making bulk edits. So I'm going to submit. We'll save those changes, give that a minute. It's processing a couple work orders. And then I can go up to my system messages. Again, I see that first article and it's going to list the work orders and the specific operations. And then from there, I can navigate to each one of those and complete those checks as required. Any questions coming up in the chat, Paul, before I move on to our next
Yeah,
feature?
can you bulk update a specific process and or operation setup times or run times? That'd be more of like a part level.
That would be part level. Yep. And we are looking at, so as we've gone into this space on work orders, we're looking at other areas that we want to expand bulk edit. And parts is definitely one of those areas that we're considering. So yeah, great call out.
In the
Any other questions?
meantime, if like you're doing a ton, like really a ton of them, you could use CSV for that. It's definitely more tricky, a little more error prone, but yeah, if you have like hundreds of things you need to update, you could definitely run a query, export that, update, set up a runtimes, and then re-import that using the joins or special feature. Exactly, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Just those fields only, and none of the other fields. So,
Yeah. Any
but
other questions before I move into inspection?
the question if we're planning to support SLD PRT, like native SolidWorks files.
Mm.
Viewer.
Yeah, great question. I will connect with the product team that's working on. I did not take on 3D models this year myself, so I'll have to take a look at the other files and the enhancements as we go into 2025. It's not in the immediate release in 5.2.3, I know that, but we can take a look at that file type for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, great questions coming in. Thanks. Thanks,
Thanks.
all. Okay, I'm going to pivot us slightly into inspection. Like I said, there's a ton to showcase. I wish I had 2-3 hours because we did a lot in 2024. Really just getting us through some of the key highlights. I am so jazzed that one of the features that we got through into our latest release and is coming out to our current clients in January, prospects, if you're signing up today, the environment that you would get when you set up with us would be 5.2.3 in the new year. So if you like what you see, definitely, again, get a demo with us, but I'll stop plugging the demos for our existing clients. So inspection equipment per dimension was one of the features that we have been looking at in the product team and have really wanted to get in the hands of our clients. And by that, I mean, when you are completing an FAI and IPC on a work order, being able to associate a piece of equipment to per dimension to that check. Some of the features, so I'm starting us on an equipment page because I really want to highlight that the only pieces of inspection equipment that you're going to see on FAIs and IPCs available to be used or associated with a given check are going to be those that are actually active and have no past due or outdated checks. So as we see here, we've got a piece of equipment, calibers. Their last check was done last month, and their next check isn't done and isn't required until March. So this is an active a piece of equipment, and it is up to date. If you have a check due, you will not see that piece of equipment available for you to select from because it could be out of tolerance, is the assumption there. So I will move us over to a work order, and let's take a look at a first article. I'm going to go ahead and edit this first article, and let's look at completing a check. So I'm going to go over and put my inspection results into that field, except I'm not. So one of the very first things that users are going to find is that they really need to specify the piece of equipment that they're using before I can enter the results. So I'm going to come over to my equipment used. I'm going to find that same caliper. And as soon as I've selected it, now I can enter the results into this field. So we really wanted to make sure that we were mistake proofing this space, making sure that the user is prompted, if you've turned on this feature and you're using it in 523, that user is prompted to enter that value as far as the equipment used before they enter that, so that it can't be missed on the first articles and IPCs. Go ahead and save changes. And we'll see when we save that, we've got the equipment used here. If I hover over, I get a little bit more information as well as, and Paul mentioned this at the part level, but we have this in the inspection equipment as well. We also get a visual representation of that, that piece of equipment too. So again, making sure that you've selected the right one. All right. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at my notes and we are cruising. I'm going to take a look while I'm in inspection. This feature's been around for a little bit, but I thought I'd highlight it while we're kind of in the same space. Last year, we introduced inspection frequencies, setting in inspection frequencies per dimension. This is done early on in the part check info at the part record page. So if you aren't using this feature today, but definitely start using it. We've got the default inspection frequency here. I can set that, and that's going to flow down per dimension. We also added some enhancements to the IPC and process check itself. So you'll see if I go to start entering my fourth inspection, let's say here, and the results, I am going to get prompted that I need to enter parts completed inspection. So one of the new adds with this feature when we launched it was that you can, at the point that you are completing an inspection, enter the number of parts that are complete for that given inspection, and it will populate the parts complete on the face of the work order at that same time. So here I'm validating that the parts that I'm completing are 1. As soon as I toggle out of that field and navigate, oops, sorry guys. Oh man, hold please. I was telling Paul, too much caffeine this morning for me. And I knew at some point I was going to double click. There we go. So if I scroll over, now I can enter my results, but I do need to validate the parts completing that I'm completing at the same time of this inspection. Paul, am I missing anything in this space or any highlights while I'm here?
Yeah, well, on that, the significance of having that, and that is an option. You can turn that on and off, obviously, in the settings and even toggle it right there. But
Yep.
you know, one of the real benefits of doing this is it gives pretty, you know, as real time as a system can be that's not directly connected to the machines, of how many parts are made, which updates the work order, updates the schedule automatically. So someone in the office that's looking to provide status to a client could tell you, oh, you know, as of 10 minutes ago, there was X number of parts finished, right? So, and that'll, again, that since it updates the schedule, it'll update the anticipated ending time in, you know, more accurately. So yeah, lots of good reasons to use that function. And one thing also to note, although you had them all at 10%, you can obviously set different frequencies for different dimensions, and it will prompt you that this one is optional, this one is now required, to help you stay on track with all those inspections.
Yeah, and you're right, Paul. I blew right through that. We've got the default inspection here, but yep, those inspection frequencies per dim are set here. If I did leave that blank, it would default to the default above. But yeah, I can set those individually at the part IPC or part check info.
Yep. And there are a couple of questions around this, so I'll get to them here. So Yvonne asks, is the calibrated equipment noted required for any AS certifications? Yes, I do believe that that is the case. Certainly on the AS9102 form, there is an option to require wood inspection, the gauge ID number of the caliper, or excuse the caliper of the gauge that was used for that inspection. So the customer does require that on the AS9102. This will automatically propagate that onto that form. Yeah, I do believe actually in the standard it says you need to have, you know, the gauge that was used tied to the inspection results. Fairly sure. I'm not the ultimate expert. That would be Kelly on our team, or Vince.
Exactly.
But, yeah. And then another one, when you record rejected dimensions, when do you record good parts and bad parts quantity? I can probably take that. So if you do put in a bad dimension or an out of tolerance result, we'll prompt you to make a nonconformance report. Just because you have a nonconformance does not necessarily mean you have a bad part. It just means you have recorded something that appears to be nonconforming. So it's not until you disposition that would be recorded as a bad part. So and the good parts is assumed in the quantity, in the quantity complete column on the face of the work order. That's what we're assuming is the number of good parts. So anything out of that would be a rejection would not be in that column. So yeah, great question.
Great questions.
Go. All right, let's keep plugging along.
Okay, well, it wouldn't be ProShop demo if we weren't talking about compliance somewhere, and multiple places, of course. So I wanted to highlight one of the features that we launched, really focused at companies and clients that are in the regulatory spaces. We've had a few clients, especially in the medical industries, but others that are held to, especially I think one of our regulatory documents that circulates quite a bit in our client base is regulatory document 21 CFR 11. Had to get my notes off on the side on that one, make sure I had it right. But basically, it talks about the need for approvals and approval control of record creation and edits, and making sure that those edits are tracked and that the user is that there is a traceability to the user that's making that edit, and that they are validating at the point that that edit is made that it is truly them. The solutions that we have around this are using a electronic signature with a specific password to the user that's set just for approvals. So let's take a quick look at this feature set. To enable it, it's going to be set in our system configuration, and then we can enable this for certain modules. Now, if you wanted to turn on this for your entire end-to-end of the software, you definitely could. If it's only really needed in certain spaces, like the editing of a certain part or parts in general, you can set this per module. So today I'm going to demo this just at the part level, but I'm going to set that here in system config. I'm going to go ahead and go to a part. And we'll see as soon as I edit, I'm going to be prompted to require an electronic signature when I save my edit. Before I get into that, I'm going to show you just quickly where I am going to set the password for the electronic signature. I already have one established, but I can change it. So I'm going to go ahead and just change the one that I have today. At this point, it's going to prompt you to enter your login password. This is your login for ProShop, and then set your new electronic signature. So again, signature just for this workflow. You can do this proactively. Uh-oh.
Security setting previously been used.
That's always a good one. Now I've got to think of a slightly different password, but good news. I've got that ready.
And this, of course, because it could be used quite frequently. It could be more like a PIN code instead of a really long, complex password.
Totally. Yeah.
To enter it in when you make an edit to something. And this, for those that have been in the industry a long time and remember the little QA stamp that someone would like wear around their neck, and they'd rubber stamp the piece of paper saying, yeah, me, I was the one that had this stamp when I did this. This is kind of like the digital equivalent of that rubber stamp.
That is such a great analogy, Paul. I was on the manufacturing floor auditing a lot of that traceability back in the day, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And so true. This is definitely the electronics solution to that. So I'm going to go back to the same scenario I did earlier, which is I'm going to go ahead and change the part rev. I'm going to go ahead and change this from A to B. And actually, maybe I'll take a jump. We'll go A to C. So it's really obvious that this is the edit that I'm making. So at the time that I go to click Save Changes, now I could have made an edit to one or multiple fields on this particular record. When I hit Save, I'm going to be prompted that I do need to provide that password. I'm going to drop that in. I'm going to go ahead and approve. If you had not set a password proactively, at the very first time that that user uh, is prompted to provide an electronic signature, it will ProShop will actually take you through that workflow to establish the password first. So you can be proactive and set that. It's when your organization sets up this feature, or reactive in the moment if you weren't prompted otherwise. So let's take a look at, as a user, I go on with my standard workflows, no major actions from me, but for those that do need to audit edits, who changed this part at what point, etc. You will see when you enable these features that in our quality control, we do have an approvals module. At any point that you are doing audits in any period, you can see across the organization for the areas that you have set approvals on. And because we're in a demo system, we have turned on and off approvals over time. I just turned on parts, but in past demos, we've done work orders as well. So you'll see that entire history here. If in a moment I was taking a look at the days, I can run some queries off of a given time period and make sure that I'm just looking at those approvals. For the simplicity of this particular demo, I'm just going to go in and take a look at the approval that I made today, just moments ago. So the approval record is going to give you a few key pieces of information. Who made the approval? So I've got my ProShop admin here. This will also take me to the user page. The approval date, any if it did approve. And then we'll go ahead and see the edit detail as well. Now I do need to enable our edit log so that I can see this history, but what this will give me is a history of the edits that were made in this point of approval. So I only made an edit to the revision field, but if I had made multiple edits at one time, I would see all of those edits that again were associated to that approval. A high level of traceability that's available to our users and to our clients if you need it in the areas of in the industries that you're working in.
Awesome.
Any questions here before I move into our next space?
See any new ones?
Okay. So I'm going to dive us into some of the features around SAFE. So for those who are not familiar with SAFE, I'll go ahead and just move us on to here first. So we launched, gosh, Paul, has it been last year, maybe the year before? Time flies. We launched ProShop Safe, which is SAFE is an acronym for Secure Access File Ecosystem. SAFE is our offering of a cloud-based file management system that keeps data for our clients safe by ensuring only authorized users have access to files and folders that their admin gives them permission to. All of which is managed through the user's credentials and authentication used in their ProShop login. There is not enough hours into today's demo to go through SAFE, so we definitely owe the same group a good walkthrough of the SAFE features, but just at a really high level overview, just to give anyone an idea of the two offerings there. Prior to, I think it was last year, I think we launched in mid 2023. Before we launched SAFE, when you mounted your file store into your workstations, this was done with a global shop floor user and open permissions across the whole file store. So basically, every employee could see every file and folder. And as we've moved into regulated spaces and more compliant solutions, we realized we needed to address how to control file management and files and the authorization to view them. So in SAFE, if you haven't done a demo with us, every user definitely get in and get that demo for any existing clients. Definitely navigate over to our CS desk if you want more information, or over to our help site. We have a ton on the SAFE offerings. But as we launch SAFE service, really the kind of high level overview there is that every user will mount the drive using, as I said, the same permissions that they use to log into ProShop, which brings, as I mentioned, that higher level of security, as only authorized people will have access to ProShop and to the files live in the software. There's two options as it relates to Safe. We have a free option of Safe Core. This is available to all clients at no cost. It'll give you 3 levels of folder permissions, a limited, a general, and a complete, which aligns with our standard A, B, and C seat licenses. This comes with a pre-configured access levels. You are not able to modify those access levels. And this does provide access to type of folders commonly used for certain types of users. We offer Safe Plus. So Safe Plus is our paid feature. This is a monthly fee to all users if a client chooses to upgrade. And what Safe Plus allows you is a lot of customization in this space. So you can customize outside of the 3 folder permissions, a much larger set of permissions and different groups, and you can configure who can access what files by either role, file type, etc. So if you want more information, definitely reach out to us. We also, and I think Sarah can list it in our chat, we have a website and a space in our website dedicated to Safe, which goes in much more in depth. So I've been talking at you without doing a demo, which is so rude. I hate demonstrations that just talk for 5 minutes straight. So let's get into the demo side of this. With a little bit of that preamble, I wanted to give, for those not familiar with Safe, a little bit of some background there. In 2024, we also launched a feature enhancement around Safe. For those who have the Safe Plus feature, the paid subscription, you also can leverage file classifications. So let me tell you a little bit about file classifications before I get into this. So this next feature allows you even more ability to regulate which users have access to which files based on the type of classifications that a file is marked to. So this really gets us into even more regulatory security requirements and the solutions there, like CMMC compliance, HIPAA, ITAR compliance. You can set as your file is uploaded into ProShop, or as you upload a file into your Explorer and into your main drive, you can mark that file with what type of additional classification it falls under. And then I can, oh my gosh, I've been talking for too long. And then I can tie certain users to that particular classification, so only they can view these files. Now, they might be able to view all part records, but when it gets to this type of file that's uploaded into the part, they won't be able to view it unless they are marked to that classification. So let's get into classifications a little bit. Classifications is its own module, so I can set the class here just as a standard record type, very similar interface to what you've seen throughout ProShop. You'll see here file classifications. If I've uploaded any files directly to Windows Explorer, so directly to my main drive, and I didn't upload it through through our user interface, I will get prompted as I navigate through ProShop that I have files that still need to be marked. This has, again, this is our assurance that no file ends up coming into the system that isn't marked if it needs to be. Now, you can also set in system config a default classification so that you're not prompted with every file upload unless you need to be. So a lot of options here. As I was talking about, I can set this classification, and then I can set what users should be able to view files when that file is marked with this particular classification. So I can say that there should only be 3 users in our organization that can view any file that's been marked ITAR. Now let's go ahead and take a look at where I set that. I set that at the user page in this authorization classification markings. So as I add classifications to that classification module, they will show up in the drop-down lists here. I can select and then save. Now, let's not ignore the 3 files that have been uploaded elsewhere outside of the interface. Let's go take a look at how I mark a file um, when I've uploaded it. So I'm going to go ahead and let me go back here. I'm going to review files. I'm going to leave that. And this will take me into the interface where I can mark these files with the classifications that pertain to them. So let's say in the last 24 hours, I have updated or I've uploaded a few files into a single folder outside of ProShop. I'm going to again get those prompts that I need to mark them. So I can select which of these files I'm going to mark. I've got the drop-down list here of the classifications that I've set in the classification module, and I'm going to go ahead and select ITAR. I'm going to go ahead and add those to these files. And you can see right now I don't have any markings. As soon as I mark them, I'll have the markings here. And again, now only users that have access to or that were approved in that authorization classification marking field will be able to view these. I can also do a few other things while I'm in this interface, filter rows. I'll also get a prompt to which classifications I have access to. Again, driven by what I've been given permission on the user page to mark. If I haven't been authorized for a given marking, I can't mark files with that as well. So that is the second control in that space. Whew, I just looked at time. So I think that's all I'm going to touch on today. But if you want more information, if you're a current client, we definitely have help in our current help site around safe and safe file classifications. If you're a prospect, again, I can't say enough. Definitely book a demo with us. We'd love to talk to you about our feature sets here. Paul, before I move into any other highlights, any questions that we can answer quickly?
On the chat, but I have
Okay.
one.
Okay.
What I'm seeing there in the middle under the filter with only my files, my own files, probably means that you could have someone that reviews and marks files that other people have dragged and dropped into the file system. Is that right?
Exactly. Yep. For the sake of the demo and the amount of files that we use in any given day and are uploading into our demo sites, I set for my files. But you're totally right. If you are the only person in your organization or a very select amount that should be reviewing files as they get uploaded outside of the interface, or even in it, yeah, you can definitely set that. Great question.
And just to add a little bit more color to that for those, what Lacey was saying, putting files directly and even how that works. So, you know, for those that are ProShop users, you know that ProShop manages, you know, this file store on the back end. We have direct links into that file store from different places within the interface, like that client part folder that's right up at the top there. But you can also, and with Safe, once you have logged into ProShop, it mounts that drive, to use that old term, to allow you to actually, you know, use Windows File Explorer to browse around, go into folders. But Safe will preclude someone from going into a folder that they don't have permission to see. And it's quite sophisticated in how it can do that. You can nest permissions. So someone could not have access to a higher level folder, but they do have access to a sub-level folder. So for example, a machinist might need access to the G-code folder, but you don't want them to have access to the direct, you know, customer original files or something like that. So you can nest those permissions. And then if using an image as an example, if someone doesn't have permission to see an image, not only will they not see it if they're browsing around the folders that they have permission to be in, but if they open up a page in ProShop that does have that image, you know, displayed in the interface, they will not see that image there either. So it works both on the back end and in the front end of ProShop. So it's pretty nice, pretty sophisticated, and definitely helps lock things down for that compliance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks for that additional details, Paul. That's a really good description of the overall functionality. Well, hopefully we hear from you soon. If you have any questions outside of it, definitely connect with us. We love to talk safe and all of the ways that it can solve problems for you in, again, the spaces of making sure that only the right users are looking at the data that you want them to and the files that you want them to. Oh, I'm getting nudged by one of Santa's helpers that we need to still take a look at a few of the features that we launched this year. So I'll go back. I think that might wrap up most of my demos, but I think I've still got a few items in our slideshow. So I'll go back there. Yes, the cheese factor is huge in this webinar. It is year end and it is Christmas, so you're stuck with it. As I mentioned early on in the presentation, for many of you, and you may be familiar with this, the AS9102 revs to see in 2023. In early 2024, we were ready for you as you needed to start meeting those requirements. All three of our forms are formatted to be able to accommodate Rev C. This probably feels like a thing of the past because this has been out for quite a while, but I do want to highlight this. If anyone is getting AS certified and you're worried, what are ProShop solutions here? We are up to date and we stay up to date in those spaces. You do have an option. This is becoming less relevant the further in we get using Rev C, but you do have options if you were going back to a historical record that you can select Rev B and have the forms updated to that version as well and submit at a previous Rev level. So if that's applicable to anyone, that is still available. And we also, when we launched this, introduced font categorization for required and optional fields. So you'll see throughout the forms highlights and indications of which of those fields are required. Also, at the beginning of our wrap, I was mentioning that we had 2 integration offerings launched this year, both zero accounting integration. If you're using that accounting software, we do have mappings to key fields for invoices and bills. We do have a proxy solution, which will allow you to post an invoice and a bill from ProShop, have it originate there and post into Xero so you can continue your accounting solutions and workflows in that accounting software. And then we also did launch an integration with NetInspect. We have heard for quite a while that our clients' customers are starting to require certain softwares to submit FAIs. And NetInspect is one of those that some of the larger customers, especially in aerospace industries, are requiring that their FAIs come through that space and that all of the FAIs are managed in NetInspect. We want to make sure that we have solutions for you. Of course, we have our own FAI solutions, and of course, we're continuing to improve in those spaces as well. But for those that do have customers that are requiring them to submit here, we do have an export of FAI data that will come from ProShop's FAIs and are mapped to specific fields in NetInspect that we share with their FAIs. So if you're curious about either one of those, again, as existing clients, we definitely have great help content on that. For prospects, we'd love to walk through our integration solutions with you. And then it wouldn't be a product led year in review if we weren't also looking ahead. I snuck these out of the product department, so don't tell them. Usually this time of
Usually
year,
what
we're
I do.
just
Usually what I do.
usually Paul's sneaking it
I
out,
haven't
but
got them,
we
but
got our powers combined today and we both snuck these out so that we could show them for you on what is on the near-term horizon for us as we go into 2025. There is so much more than what I'm showing here, but I wanted to give a few sneak peeks. We have our Write API general availability to our client base coming out in are targeted for Q1 2025. There are additional integrations that we're taking a look at. So as we continue to work with our clients and find where there would mostly be greatly impacted by an integration. We continually hear tool vending integration, so we are taking a look at that area, additional counting packages, and then facilitating purchasing through things like libraries and catalogs of key vendors that you're working with and integrating those into ProShop. So we're taking a look at all of those solutions as in areas as we move into 2025 and finding the highest impact that we can bring to you. We've heard you loud and clear for those that have been with us for a little while that you are looking for some more robust outbound RFQ solutions and a dedicated workflow for that. So we're taking a look at that right now, actively in discovery in that space. We also want to enhance our data visualization and dashboards, making sure that the data that you're taking a look at is very clear and that it's clear what's actionable to you, as well as taking a look at how we can enhance importing into into ProShop and reduce the amount of data import, uh, dual data
Hmm.
in CMM import results. So as we take a look at where some of the larger pain points are for data entry in ProShop, inputting FAI results when you already have them from a CMM machine is one of the top areas, and we have listened and we are working on solutions in that space as well.
Yes.
Oh, Paul, I barely left us any space, but I think, did we have a poll for this particular webinar?
Sarah probably knows that better than anyone if she
Perfect. If we do, we should launch it now because you know me,
asks a question.
I've left us very little time.
Uh,
Perfect. It looks like it's coming up.
one question. Um,
Perfect.
there are some questions. I'll go top down. So
Okay.
Brad asks, we often set inspection tolerances tighter than the customer's tolerances to create a guard band and allow for things like plating. I'm also curious about the same question about out of tolerance. So Brad, I can answer that. On the inspection tolerances tighter than customers, absolutely. You can set an internal manufacturing only dimension, which is the same nominal, but maybe, or a different nominal even, that's tighter tolerance or whatever you want to do with it. If you designate it in the dimension tag number as an internal dimension, it will not flow down onto the customer AS9102 or FAIs that you submit to your customers. So you can have both. You can have your internal one you hold tighter that no one else knows about, and then you can have the normal customer one with their tolerance, and that's what you report on your FAI. So great question, and yeah, we had that ourselves at ProCNC, so we built that feature many years ago. And then, yep, Erica says importing please to CMMs. So that is coming. Paul asks, any integration support for shipping solutions? I'm guessing like UPS World
Hmm.
Ship. That's
Sure. That one hasn't, when we took a look at kind of distilled the amount of integration requests, shipping solution wasn't high on the list, but Paul, I'm going to take that note back to the team that's working on integrations for 2025 and have them take a look at that as well. So it didn't make the top three, but yeah, good to note.
if it's on your top three, go ahead and put it
Yeah.
into the poll here. The more data points we get, the better. And
Heck
then
yeah.
James asks, connecting to vending machines or your own? So no, we're not coming out with our own vending machine
Oh
solution.
gosh.
Or we're not getting into the vending machine manufacturing distribution business. But this would be other systems like Matrix. And do we have a list of what's the first one or ones on the? Do you happen to know that, Lacey?
I'm not on the team building the integrations, but I do know that they have a list of top, I think, 3 or 5 that they have pulled from, both looking at our customer existing forums and market research as well. So I wish I had asked them for that list. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Matrix is on that list.
Yeah, that sounds
One of the most
familiar.
common systems. And while I don't know precisely, generally the way it would work is the vending machine would push back the quantity available right into the ProShop interface.
Hmm.
So you can see right inside of ProShop how many are in that machine. Still, if you are cataloging your cutting tools, ProShop would still be predictive about what tools are needed upcoming, which a vending machine, of course, can't do because it doesn't know how many orders you have and how many parts and how many tools per part you need based on the consumption. So I think you get the best of both worlds, the predictive nature of ProShop and then the sort of, minimum nature of a vending machine where it can auto reorder, or your vendor can make sure it stays, replenished to that minimum level. So yeah, should be pretty neat. And that is all the questions.
Okay, and that is almost time. So if you haven't already, definitely drop your answers into the poll. The information you provide us is what features are exciting to you. Also help us with some great data points. As Paul mentioned, I want to take a minute. I'm sure Paul does too. I want to thank, there's a few of you on the call here that we see quite a bit. For existing clients, thank you for partnering with us. It's been an incredible year. I consider myself insanely lucky that the clients that we work with are so engaged that they provide us insane amount of feedback around our product and want to see us succeed and grow and bring you solutions and are so articulate about the problems that you face that you make our life in the product department easy. We know exactly where to be working and what to be working on. And that's because of the continued partnerships with our clients. it really is an ecosystem when you come in and you start working with us. It's a community. And I'm so fortunate to get to work with so many clients in the product role to really understand your problems and how we can solve them. Paul, I'll open up to you too, because I know you love a good gush too.
Well said, Lacey. And they're all lucky to work with you and our
Yeah.
product team and our entire team. Yeah, it's been quite a growth year for us. It's we have yeah, it's been an amazing journey, and it's feels like it's just getting started even. So
I
we
know.
wish you all an incredible end of year and holiday season. Hopefully, a little bit of time off that's well deserved, and ready to kick off 2025 strong. So yeah, thanks again to everyone. It's just incredibly rewarding thing for me to be a part of with all of you. So and thanks, Lacey, for doing such an awesome job on this webinar. You're
Oh
always
my gosh. I love it. Any chance you get me to talk about products, I'm in it all day long. So, all right. Thank you.
well,
Thank you all. We'll
see
see
you
you in the
next
new year.